Hey, what's happening, YouTube? It's Richard, founder of Short Term Rental University and Airbnb Superhost. And today, Eric and I are staying on the big island of Hawaii in Kona at the
Aolani Coffee Cottage.
Aolani Coffee Cottage, which I have to say is one of the most charming and most beautiful and exactly what I was looking for Airbnb. There are few and far between. I've stayed at many Airbnbs, but this property is special and it's clean and it's thoughtful and it's filled with hospitality. And so when Heather, who's the co-host, Heather Lowe of
Vitamin C Collection.
Vitamin C SEA collection. Said she was going to be here. I invited her to be interviewed and teach us all a little bit about the art of co-hosting. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been co-hosting, how you got started.
Well, I started in 2011 in New York City when I had my own Manhattan apartment. I didn't own it. I lived there. And when I moved out, my friend gave me a great idea to list it on Airbnb. So that's what I did. And I did that for 3 years and before I moved out to Hawaii.
Yeah, I was going to say, New York City is a long way from Hawaii.
I know. My mom's like, could you have moved any further west? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you could have stopped at California.
Okay, so what brought you to Hawaii? And were you a co-host immediately, or did you do some other odds and ends?
So I actually moved here for a property management job.
Like traditional property management.
Yeah. So I've been in hospitality since the age of 19. So many
like
years.
2 years now.
Yeah. No, it's been about 15 plus years that I've been in high-end luxury hospitality, and I just love it. I love, the people that I meet and the experiences. And when I was doing it, when I did Airbnb in Manhattan, it was great to give, these visitors the New York City experience. And, in between, I was still working in hospitality. It was time I was like, okay, I'm kind of outgrowing just the direct, like working for hotels. And Anna, the property owners of Aulani House, moved here, and they're like, Heather, why don't you come out? And I was like, okay. So I interviewed for a position of property management, and I got the job. About a year into that, I was like, let me try to see if I can start my own thing. And when these owners moved away, they're like, would you like to take over our property? I'm like, okay.
Sure.
So I took it over, and they left with a really solid foundation already in place. And I just carried on exactly what the owners, want to see. And, I'll add my touches of, hospitality and experiences. And yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job, which
Thank
is
you.
why you're here, right? I mean, I travel the world. Literally, I stay in Airbnbs all the time. And this place is just special, and it's done right. And I walked in last night, and I shared with Eric. I was like, this is a successful business, run intelligently, run successfully, doing everything correctly. And so I'd love to share with the audience some of the tips that you've done and how you got there. But before we do that, somebody asked me, what's the difference between traditional property management, so sort of the job that you were doing, and the job that you are doing today as a co-host?
I get that question a lot. And, I used to ask myself that too, but the day-to-day operation of a, Airbnb host and co-host, it's the attention to detail that you put in, in the one-on-one attention to the guest, finding out from start to finish, like what brings you here? Like, what are you here to celebrate? Adding that level of hospitality and professionalism, that you can, just give to your guests who are staying here and who inquire about your property, and, it's creating experiences.
Totally. And that's exactly what I've been teaching everybody. It's all about the experiences, and it's all about, hospitality. And, do you do a lot of the marketing too, or do they do mostly the marketing and you're just running it?
I do a lot of the social media. I do all of the social media.
Okay.
So,
Pricing?
I do pricing,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you use dynamic pricing, or you do it manually?
We do it manually. We just go based off of, obviously supply and demand. How were we last year compared to this year? What's, like Kilauea, the volcano erupting that, was a hard hit. So, we just have to kind of go based on, the time of year, what's going on in Hawaii.
And then what's your occupancy rate or your target for this property?
So between both properties or
Sure.
just this one?
Yeah, so we're in the little cottage and there's a bigger house. You said that the house was featured in the Airbnb magazine and has received critical acclaim and so on.
Yeah, we're a 5-star property with 65-star reviews. So
Awesome.
super host, yeah. I want to say we're about 85 to 90% occupancy. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do really well, and again, it's word of mouth. We have a website, so people might find us on Airbnb and VRBO, and then they just go and look us up, and they see our website, and I think what sets us apart too from a lot of other Airbnbs is that we are a resort style home for the main property, and here as well. Here's a little bit more intimate experience. When our guests come, you self-check in, but we still offer the same amenities. So we offer, in-house massages and private yoga sessions.
We should talk to her about the in-house massage. Yeah. Okay. So in-house massage, yoga sessions.
Yeah, I do.
This is another video that we did not too long ago, which is all the different ancillary revenue that you can have as you add more hospitality.
Absolutely. So I have a few businesses within my business. I also do personal grocery shopping. So, what better way to get off the plane, come to your house and your fridge is fully stocked, and I charge for that service. I have a concierge business within Vitamin C Collection, and we book manta ray, snorkels and volcano tours and
Turo cars, I think you said.
I have a Turo, yeah.
How's that work for you?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, you like that too?
Yeah,
So here's a full-fledged entrepreneur. And you sort of started in traditional property management.
Yeah.
Now you're doing co-hosting, and then you've got concierge services and tour services and massage and all these other things and Turo.
Yeah.
And is this your full-time career now?
My full-time career.
And
I love it.
You're doing well and growing?
I love it. I am growing, and most importantly, like I'm, creating relationships with all of my guests. I don't just say, oh yeah, here's an Airbnb, have fun. I really, I get personal, and today one of my guests checking into a property, it was her birthday. So when they arrived, I had flowers, a balloon, and a happy birthday card.
Amazing.
And she was turning 70, and
Amazing.
she was like, I started crying, and it's her first time in Hawaii. So it's just these moments that will never be able to be recreated again. In that specific moment, her 70th birthday, first time in Hawaii, when she walks into an Airbnb, and it's just creating those experiences for people. It's like
memories.
And memories, absolutely, with her family that.
So that's where the direct booking engine is going to be really helpful for you. So what percentage of bookings do you think happen on your own website, whether it's the Vitamin C or the individual homes?
I want to say about 20. We get about 20%, maybe 15 to 20% through our website.
It's great.
But we still kind of like to direct people to Airbnb.
Sure.
As just not a safer platform, but we just kind of keep that.
No, but I mean, there is the insurance, the host protection, and there's also the two-way reviews, and there's a real benefit to being on there. But there's also a cost. But if somebody wants to come next year or whatever, that's a great way to do it, right? Yeah. Start on the platform and then take them off organically.
Yeah. If they love it here, and I always say, hey, you have my contact information, give me a call. And we have a lot of repeat, guests that come through the doors, and they call this home, when they come here, and that's what we're trying to portray, and all the details that you see throughout both properties.
Yeah, and I mean, it's night and day. We stayed at an Airbnb in Kauai before we came here, and it was really clean, it was really nice, but it was a condo, and the maids there basically cleaned everything out, so there was no coffee filter, and then there was a kitchen, but unless you wanted to go to the grocery store and get every single thing that you might need, it wasn't really accessible, and for a 3 or 4 day stay it doesn't make sense. Whereas here, there's the salt and pepper, and we use the crushed red pepper, and you've got all the different pasta pots and colanders and everything, right? It's like, actually, like you said, it's like our home, and we're quite comfortable. We're really happy here. So you're doing a great job with that. So you started with one, and that was how many years ago?
That was in 2011 through 2013, going to 2014.
In New York City?
In New York City,
And then you came to Hawaii when?
So then I moved to Oahu. I was still in the hospitality industry there, went to California, and then found my way back here. So I just missed Hawaii so much. I'm like, oh, the mainland. And I had an opportunity, and I came back, and that property management position like really helped build a strong foundation for what I do here. Because going back to your original question, you're always looking for things, right? Like just a property manager, like going through the house, staying in your properties I think that's one of the biggest things that my former boss taught me when I was in that position. And it's so funny. He's like, I want you to like just lay down on the floor. I'm like, okay. He's like, now look up. He's like, what do you see? And I'm like, I saw, blue tape. And I was like, the contractors forgot to take off the blue tape. He's like, bam.
Right.
He's like, and then like I looked underneath the, counter, and I see other things wrong. He goes, the most important thing you can do as a property manager is to know your property inside and out, but stay there.
Right.
Spend time in it, like touch things, look at things, push buttons. That's the only way that you're going to know how things are operating. So I've taken that, and I stay at the properties when I can, and I act as a guest and think, like, I cook dinners, and I'm like, okay, what could a guest use?
What's missing? What's
missing? I've realized a potato masher. So
Right.
I went out and bought a potato masher, and and that's one thing as a host that I ask my guest after each stay is like, what can the house use? Like, what could you have used during your stay that you didn't have? And so we keep building on that, and it just.
Well, so the first thing that is really obvious to me, which I think is missing from a lot of hosts that do it at a mediocre level, or even co-hosts that do it at a mediocre or subpar level, is that you actually care.
We do.
Right? Like, this actually lights you up, and you're excited, and it's somebody's 70th birthday, and that, inspires you and creates memories, and so that's amazing. And I think that that's just, you either have it and you connect with that, or you don't. And if you were doing this just for the money, you wouldn't really care that much. And in my own mind, that's sort of the legacy property manager sort of responsibility. It's like, here's the bare minimum, and maybe we can do some repair and maintenance work for you because we have some contractors. Do you do any of that work also?
I do.
Okay.
I do for, you can only have a few properties that you just property manage. So, but I also tie that into all of the Airbnbs.
Right.
So for this property, I do full property management as well.
Cool. Yeah. And so what is the range of fees that co-hosts can charge in your experience?
That can get, I'm working actually on a tier system because I do anywhere from consulting to hosts that are on VRBO and have no idea how Airbnb works. So I would do that, as a flat fee to get their Airbnb up and running. I do a month of just, in case you have any questions, call me. And then, I remain in contact with them, and if, they can call me anytime. Right. So, and then... and
I bet you some of them turn into clients when they're like, you know what, this is more work than I thought, or I'm not good at it, or I don't want to answer it when the thing beeps.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm glued to my phone, and my mom and my friends are like, Heather, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is not a question. Like, I have to be on my phone, and it's just about being responsive and, answering questions to the best of your ability, even if they're silly.
So how many properties do you currently manage?
I currently manage 8.
Or co-host?
Yeah, I currently co-host 8, and then I consult with a few that I'm still, there answering any questions. And then I know that, once they're just like, okay, this is too much, I would be their first go-to to say, Heather, take this over.
So in my experience co-hosting, I co-host one property, and I know a variety of others. It seems to me that the market is somewhere between 15 and say 25% of revenue. Is that sort of a range that you think is reasonable, or you think that's too high, too low?
Oh, for commission?
Yeah, like your pay based on bookings.
Yeah. I roughly charge right there 15 to 18.
Right, and I think that...
And it's, the more homes I get, obviously the rates are going to go higher.
Right.
But yeah, I think 15 to 20% range is good for just the co-hosting, and then depending on if you wanted a full property management as well, I would tack on a little bit more for that.
And then you got your first one, which I think is the hardest one. In your case, they gave you the position, right?
Yeah, it was.
But tell me how you got the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh and the eighth.
The second came through one of my friends she's a hairstylist, and she was talking to one of her clients, and she's like, man, this is a lot of work. She's like, I don't know if I'm retired, and like I can't. She wanted to not work,
Right.
and just again being responsive, being on your phone, like answering questions and doing all the greeting guests. It's a workload. So she's like, do you know of anybody? And my girlfriend's like, absolutely. So that's how that came about. Another one, I was actually on a date, and and he's just like, man, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like I stink at cleaning, and I'm like, you're doing your own cleanings? He's like, yeah, but I don't think I'm doing a very good job because I'm at 3.5 star. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So
like, I can take that off.
Yeah, I was like, I got you. So I ended up, we didn't date anymore. I ended up becoming his client, and he ended up becoming my client, and we worked together, and I got him up to a 5-star. He's now super host.
Amazing.
All 3 properties, and I actually, I go in and I just, again, spend time in the property. So I also help decorate. I think, the first thing I do is make sure that they have professional photography done on the property, because pictures sell. That's the first thing that, guests are going to look through when they're going through Airbnb. So what stands out? So I go in and I, put some, I pretty much stage it for a photo shoot.
Right.
And then they typically decide to keep everything that I bring in. They love it. And now it, reflects the photos. So now you have accuracy, which is huge. And yeah, that's how
It's great. And then what about cleaning? I know cleaning gives many Airbnb hosts.
Oh my gosh, cleaning is like
Yeah,
so
it's the
essential.
biggest.
Yeah, it is the biggest. I have a team of cleaners, and they are amazing. I teach them. They work under me, for the first month. I show them exactly how I would like things and how the owners would, like the presentation to be for each guest that come in. And we just go from there. And I do walkthroughs. I do pre-arrival walkthroughs for each arrival, and I make sure everything's up to par. And yeah.
Well, this place was spotless, and I love a lot of the thoughtful things that you had out. She has a guidebook that talks about live like a local, and then here's a day 1 itinerary and a day 2 itinerary, and it's a laminated card, and we can share that with you. But it just is so much different, and there's a laminated map on the counter, and there's books on what to do here, and all of a sudden it feels like a wealth of information, and you have a knowledge base, and you are living like a local, as opposed to just walking into this place and there's a standard guidebook and I have to pick and choose. You describe, have breakfast here and then go have lunch here and go for a swim there and then go to dinner here, and all of a sudden it's like, I just have to execute that, right? And I've got the best of all worlds, and I haven't really thought of that journey as here's a day in the life and here's what you do day 2 and day 3. But especially in a vacation area like this, it's just so helpful.
It is, and it can be intimidating, That's one of the challenges when you book such a far flight too, because we're hours away from anything, so it's people spend tons of time like planning and what do I do and where do I go, but when you get here you're like, whoa. So we try to be as helpful and useful as we possibly can. And I'm available 24/7. Well, actually not after 10 o'clock. I go to sleep early now.
Good for you.
But I still, in case of emergencies, I'm always there to answer my phone, and I have people on backup to answer as well. But yeah, I'm like, call me if you like. Just don't go to a restaurant if you have like a question about it. Just call me, like text me. I'm always available. So I want you to have that that Hawaiian experience, and I want you to remember me and the properties that you come to visit and the experience that you had and how we made that helpful for you. So
well, the fact that you're on this interview and on this YouTube channel is a testament to the quality of the work that you're doing, because I've never invited any other host or hostess or co-host onto the channel because I just haven't been all that impressed. But I walked into this place and I just was like, this is fantastic. It's exactly what I was looking for. Super clean. Your instructions were helpful. Everything about it was just a pleasure, right? So this was almost like a boutique hotel type experience as opposed to a traditional Airbnb.
And that's what the owners had in mind when, turning this into a vacation rental is a resort style home.
Right.
And that's what they wanted to convey, that we literally are a hotel without, a lot of the other hotel offerings.
Right. And by the way, like, I don't really need to speak to the concierge and the valet and the bellman and the people in the elevator. Like,
yeah,
we just left the Ritz-Carlton in Maui, which is a beautiful hotel, but I don't need all that, right?
It's your
Right
own
now,
private hotel.
with Eric and I, we just want to be here. So one of the questions that a resort-style boutique hotel brings is all these ancillary services that you talked about, the yoga and the massage. How much revenue is that relative to the lodging itself? Is it just a few percent and it's nice to have, or is it a meaningful part of your business?
I would say it's meaningful collectively.
Right.
It does well. I do well with it.
And is that yours or is that the owner's?
No, that's mine.
So then it's really meaningful.
Yeah.
For you, it's really meaningful.
Absolutely. And it's the relationships also that I create with the business owners here, who I, send guests to. And, what better way to know that, you're going out on a manta ray snorkel at sunset, knowing that it's with a trusted company.
Right.
They're
Totally.
not just blindly going into it, just booking, a company that they don't really know much about. And so obviously all the guest safety is, our concern, and we want to make sure that they're with reputable companies.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for me or anything that you think, if you were getting started and thinking about doing this, that would have been helpful for you in the early days?
I'm sure I have tons. It's all, I don't know.
Well, tell us about,
It's all
remind
through
me the name
trial
of
and
your-
error.
right. So the name of your business is?
Vitamin C Collection.
Right.
Yeah.
Vitamin SEA collection.com.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you consult with homeowners that are looking for help.
Yeah.
Will you also consult for people that want to get into co-hosting?
Yeah, I'm open to anything. I would really like to, do blogs and, Q&As, and I want to help people.
Great.
So I'm definitely open to if anybody has any questions or,
Awesome.
for me. Yeah, it's fun. I
Well,
enjoy
listen,
it.
I think you've done a terrific job, and I thank you so much for your
Thank
time. Maybe we'll reach back out to you and have you back on with some more specific questions, or maybe some of the audience comments we'll just ask you directly. Maybe we'll do a Zoom or something.
Yeah,
And,
I've
you
seen
can-
a lot, and I've we've gone through a lot of experiences and trial and error. So
Well,
ask away.
I'll tell you, one of the things that really blew our mind last night, it's the little things, was kind of like the turn down service with the local macadamia chocolates at the nightstand, right? That's traditionally only seen in hotels, and yet here we were. We'd had a long day of travel, and we got there, and Eric was just like, "Wow, look at this!" And the cost is de minimis, but the hard thing isn't to think of it; it's to execute it every single time, right? To have your cleaning ladies put it out every single time and stock the chocolates. And you're doing it.
Going back to that attention to detail.
Right.
It's not just in your cleaning or, your words, your communication between guests, which is also super key, but just the fine tuning of details.
Yeah, no, well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that we got to meet you in person, and I could commend you and congratulate you and tell you what a wonderful job
That means
you're
a
doing.
lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you realize it. I'm sure you get a lot of compliments from guests and 5-star reviews, and Eric and I will certainly do the same. But more importantly, you're helping other aspiring entrepreneurs and people that want to get into real estate and get into Airbnb, and co-hosting is the perfect way, right? If you don't have the capital to purchase your own, you can borrow somebody else's property, do great work, learn the ins and outs, hone your skills, refine it, and save money. I hope you are too, to ultimately own your own real estate, right?
Yeah. And meeting great people such as yourself along the way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now, high five. Was that so scary?
No.
All right. So, friends, please put some comments below. What questions do you have? Heather's done a terrific job. We can all learn from her. So ask questions below, and then we'll get it on Zoom and ask you more questions and continue to teach the audience. And I'm sure some people will reach out to you for consultation, both from a homeowner's perspective that need your help marketing and running the Airbnb. And then I bet there's also some people that want to get into co-hosting that don't know where to start, how to get their first relationship client. And, you know, it's not as hard as it seems, as you proved, but you have to get started. You have to commit to it, and you have to persevere. And, you know, you didn't start with 8, but now you do, and now it's a real career. And then you've got this ancillary income, and you're just doing it, which I love, and I commend you. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We'll try and leave it clean, right, Erica? All right, thank you, friends. I hope you found this video helpful. YouTube has been such a blessing for me because it's allowed me to educate and inspire hundreds of thousands of short-term rental hosts just like you. If you haven't noticed, I have hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel teaching Airbnb hosts a plethora of do's and don'ts. But when you're just starting out, it can be extremely overwhelming. You're probably thinking, what exactly do I do? Or like, where do I start? Well, if that's the case, I have a shortcut for you, and it's a sweet deal. For a very limited time, I'm giving away free access to an exclusive training video where I teach you the most important part of running any Airbnb business, no matter how big or small. The things you'll learn in this training are not available on my YouTube channel. In fact, it's a critical segment of my flagship course that sells for over $2,000. So if you want exclusive access to this training today, so you can block out the noise and get clear on what's most important for you in your Airbnb business, then click on the button on this video, or visit str.university/training. Again, that's str.university/training. Remember, this is a part of my flagship $2,000 course, and it won't be available for much longer. Simply click the button below to claim it for free right now.